Hi, I'm Emily.
And I'm Hayley.
After meeting online, we became international best friends who bonded over how hard it is to find success in the entertainment industry.
Join us and our celebrity co-authors as they help us write the book on how to make it.
And, more importantly, uncover what making it even means.
Hi, my name is Gianmarco Soresi, and I wanted to be a legendary actor when I grew up.
Made it!
Oh.
Was that the first thing? The first thing?
Well, I think honestly, the first thing, that was the first like crystallized thing. But for me, when I was like very young, we would dance in the living room. Like my dad would put on disco, and my mom did this too. But they're divorced, and we would just like
Wait,
dance.
your parents are divorced?
Shut the fuck up. And we would like dance in the living room, and I remember asking. I said to them, "We need to get our living room on a stage so people can see this."
Oh.
So there was there is some like very primal genetic urge in me that like it's not just enough to do the thing that I enjoy.
Yeah.
It needs to be witnessed by people. It is worthy of being witnessed by people. And the rest of my life has been figuring out a skill that will get people to do that.
That's so self-aware.
You could have gone with like cult leader or just like serial killer. That usually gets a lot of attention.
But that requires so much interpersonal. There's a wanting to. It's just I want people to see me, and in a lot of ways, like I always describe it as I failed into stand-up comedy, but I also think like in a way, it is fulfilling what it is I wanted in that more raw state, because I move around on stage. I am dancing in my own way, and I've just found a version of that I enjoy, that other people, at least for now, are willing to see. And so sometimes I look at it and I go, no, you just return to kind of a more primal artistic desire.
Yeah, I was just talking to someone about this, is remembering the why. Because I was at Warner Brothers for years, getting like food thrown at me and being like, this is the dream. And then being like, wait, why did I want to work in entertainment in the first place?
Sure. I think a lot of
Yeah.
acting stuff, I haven't worked a lot of TV and film, like in the grand scheme of things, but sometimes I do it and I go, I don't know, this kind of sucks. This is very boring. You're waiting around a lot. I like the final product, but nothing compares to just, yesterday I barely got in to the venue in time, and I just go on stage and I get to dance.
You should do what Hayley does. She's an intimacy coordinator, so not as boring on as...
You know what, though? Like, I start to tap out of it, and I forget how magical it is to be on a set. And then I took my daughter to set a few weeks ago because I was working on a film with the lovely Madeline Petch from Riverdale. And I just want to name drop her because she's such a wonderful human. And she told me to bring my daughter in to meet her because my daughter's obsessed with her. And my daughter was just like amazed by this world. And like you forget when you're in it, when like you're in the big shifts of it and like you're knackered and it's not as magical as you remember. And then she was just absolutely amazed by it all. And I forgot how amazing it is to work in this.
Oh, sure, but then go tell her to go get some coffee and say the fucking coffee was wrong, and we'll see how amazed.
I always, when I was at Warner Brothers, I always knew there was nowhere physically I'd rather be, but I knew mentally I was going to jump off the water tower at any moment. Yeah. So it's like trying to,
yeah.
Well, I just did a multicam. It was my first time I've ever done a multicam, which, not to be condescending, but I guess to listeners, that's where there's a live studio audience. And I thought it would be cool. I thought it would be like a more theatrical experience because you go, there's an audience, you're performing for them, you get feedback. But it really was, honestly, it felt more jilted than regular TV because and it's more because of the writing, honestly, because it really is written in a way where every 2 lines it has a punchline that's kind of soft, and the audience is juiced up and they're told to laugh. And basically it would be like if we were having this conversation and every 2 sentences we had to pause for laughter, and not just that, but in fact react. So like, I'd say something wacky and we'd all have to be like and like, I mean, you do that every 2 or 3 sentences, and it just felt. I really think when I loved acting, I really enjoyed the Daniel Day-Lewis. I wanted to feel it. I wanted it to feel organic. I wanted to feel in the moment of it. And so much of TV and film and the requirements of these takes, or it's only these 2 lines, it just slices up the organic experience in a way that it loses some of the magic that I love. Whereas with live entertainment or stand-up in particular, it's pure. Mm-hmm. It's so pure, me just speaking and living in the moment and not having to stop and start. And I ultimately go, this is I'd love it.
The only time I've seen it work like theater was anytime I was on a Chuck Lorre stage, because everyone they were already either 10 or 5 seasons in, and like it was like 3.5 hours start to finish filming the whole, because they just have had the same people on their team. But I've seen other ones where we're like 7 hours in, and it is just like,
it must be exhausting.
And everyone's tired, and then they throw the audience a cold piece of pizza, and they're like, everyone does everyone still want to be here? And everyone's like, no.
Sure.
So
it just breaks your brain, though, in terms of like, I remember. So again, the scene I did was just one scene on this show, and I haven't acted in a long time. So I was just trying to feel it again, and I had like one part that was kind of a joke, one line that was like the laugh line or the laugh reaction, and they are juiced up to give you this huge. Everyone on the team, the director, everyone is like, we're gonna laugh so hard. And I remember I had this moment and I got this huge laugh, and I really had to wrestle immediately, because in my brain I was like, oh fuck yeah, I killed that shit. And they're like, no, this is all fake. And it reminded me, I wrote a play once, and it was me and another woman. And, I played myself and I was telling jokes. And I remember at a table read once, I told a joke in the scene, and my scene partner just laughed so hard, and I felt so good. And then I looked down at the script again, and I was like, oh, right. I gave her a parenthetical that said she laughs so hard. And it's like it's so easy to lose sight of the feedback loop of comedy. Comedy is so fine-tuned based on response that in that sitcom world, you go, oh, this is why multicams can start to suck. Yeah. Everyone is told to laugh, and it becomes a non-organic art form. It becomes, I hate to use the word fascist, but it's kind of like you must laugh now. Mm-hmm. And if that's the direction, you don't make good art, because it's not organic. It doesn't change based on what's around you. And that's what happens with a lot of stand-up comedians too, when they get too popular, is their fans just laugh and laugh and laugh, and they start losing track of what is an actual response to how the work is. It becomes more about like what the audience thinks they should do, or they love you too much, and you lose sight of what making good comedy is.
How do you keep yourself in check?
Listen.
I don't.
Well, the other argument, I think the counter to it is that like when I'm in a tough room, or if the circumstances are just bad, let's say it's a bachelor party or something, a lot of times I almost get mad at myself, because I'm like, the jokes that I find so reliable are the ones that I wrote in the first 5 years. And I'm like, oh my God, you fucking loser, going back to these jokes. But the thing is, those jokes were born out of working just shitty room after shitty room where no one knew me. And not just that, no one's paying attention. There's distractions. The spread of people is so varied. You have to find a lower common denominator. But that wasn't necessarily better comedy. I think comedy is very tricky in that sense, where it's like, sometimes if you have people's attention, you can do something more creative, or you can go on a bigger journey, or you can do a darker twist. So I think the way I try to stabilize myself is I sometimes do shows where no one in the audience knows who I am. And sometimes I have jokes that I go, oh, I thought that joke was great. Was it just my fans? And then I go, oh, maybe it is good. It's just darker than the regular person is on. It's hard. Mm-hmm. You have to grapple with it constantly. But this is why I think it's really a fool's errand for people who become huge on the internet and then start stand-up comedy after that. You're not gonna become a great comedian, a great stand-up comedian that way. It would be very hard. Or when Eddie Murphy gets paid $70 million by Netflix to make a new special, I go, good fucking luck. Because you can't even go in a room where people don't know who you are and are excited to see you. So good luck figuring it out. You're trying to, like, I could come up with metaphors, or obviously I can't. But it's like, it's hard. It's really hard. I just think, I always think of it like when I'm constructing a joke. For me to use construction as a metaphor feels so crazy because I've never built a table or a chair. But I think it's like, if I think of a ruler, you rely on, is this funny? And the problem with comedy is that your ruler is always changing. And you have to kind of take the average of all these different measurements and come up with, no, I do think this is funny, and mix in, what do I think is funny? And that's the beauty and the frustration of comedy.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to, so bad at segues, but I'm going to try and grab onto one of the
sure,
things
go for it.
Well, no, my segue's not that great. We move into a section where we tell you 2 random facts we found out about you on the internet.
Okay.
And you mentioned the internet, so I'm going
Wow.
Speaking of the internet,
Pulitzer Prize winning interviewee so I've been holding on to this fact for so long. And I haven't brought it up because I wanted to get it recorded. Also, as a longtime listener of our show, Gianmarco, you'll know that we've been trying to get Zach Woods on through shenanigans left and right. Just me posting videos of me screaming about Zach Woods. And then I saw that he follows you on Instagram, which technically means he's watched my captions.
Sure.
I need to know why, how, who, where, how did this happen? Can you please tell me everything?
I mean, listen, I would also like Zach Woods on my podcast, and I have let him know that via Instagram. He just, the internet's crazy. He just liked a couple videos, and I don't know if I wrote him or he wrote me, but it was something or other. He just said, he said, I'm not a fan of the jokes, but the captions really bring out something. Yes! Is there any chance whoever writes them has a podcast, and could I go on it? And you know me, I'm a selfish bitch. I said, no, don't worry about him. They don't have a podcast.
He has viewed our Instagram stories, so he's just a tease, I guess. I don't know.
He's online. He's probably very busy, but I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility that you could someday get him.
I wasn't asking how we could get him. I was asking why he follows you.
Because
you're funny.
He's a very funny man, Emily.
I didn't know if you were gonna say, oh, he's right here, or like we're roommates, or like,
yeah, Zach is opening for me in Bloomington,
he's my
Indiana.
Accountant. I don't know. Stranger things have happened. All right, well, there you have it. And I hope
I bet when I'm in LA next year, I bet we cross paths, and I'll try to work this into the conversation the same way you work the internet into this podcast.
Excellent.
No, but this also will be cut into a clip, and he will be just hit over the head with it as per usual, and then he'll do nothing. So, Haley, would you like to move on?
I would love to. I'd love to. It always comes back to shit and Zach Woods on this, not together.
We usually end up talking about poop and Zach Woods on every episode, so we've checked one of them off.
Checked one.
Sure.
The other one's coming later. I read a tweet of yours from 2023.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. The 4th of August, 2023.
This is how this works.
And you said, you think doing the Edinburgh Fringe Festival sounds like a fucking nightmare.
I stand by that. I stand by that.
She's not, Go ahead.
Please explain.
Well, I did the New York Fringe Festival in 2014. I'm pretty sure the festival's dead, and it's been dead. But it was tough. It was really hard just selling out. I mean, it was that play that made me become a stand-up comedian.
Yeah,
so
I'm
it was so hard. I said,
later.
It made me so hard. I said, never, never again. I just think it's like, listen, it sounds thrilling if you're doing well, or
We've
if
got them on the
people
line.
like you. I want to go do the Fringe for a week. I just think like that is a young person's game. And when you're young, it's hard to know how to write a good fucking show. So it's like, I think it sounds cool. I'd go there for a week. But let me tell you, I went to Edinburgh. The idea of that being crowded, those sidewalks are so fucking tight that unlike in New York, you cannot walk past. You are walking as slow as the slowest person on that sidewalk. It's so I just can't imagine what it's like to be in Edinburgh when it's packed, when it's busy, competing with every show under the sun. And I just think the potential for having a 2 p.m. slot in who the fuck knows where, there can only be so many baby reindeers out there in the world. And God bless anyone who does it. But per my tweet, it sounds like a fucking nightmare.
So it's a zoning issue for you.
It's a zoning issue. And do you do it, Haley? Is that like, have you done
used to. I don't. I'm too old now, man. I can't. It's exhausting. The whole 3 weeks just kills you, and you spend the whole year recovering to do it all again. But you could do a week. I could do a week. I'm looking into it. I'm trying to do a week. But even then, like, I don't know how my sales are going to do when there's 1,000 theater shows that day. So even then, it's like, listen, if I have to flyer, I'm gonna be that's gonna be tough. That's gonna be tough.
Haley, you got to work your connects.
Yeah, it's hard.
I'm assuming you have.
I did Monkey Barrel when I was there. We're looking into it. We're looking into Monkey Barrel for a week.
Oh, Monkey Barrel's great.
Yeah, nice and small.
I swear to God, if you get to see Haley in person again before I do, I am going to be so upset.
Oh my God, if you came to Edinburgh, man. That's it.
How far away is Leeds from Edinburgh? Do you go there just casually?
No, I just go for the Fringe.
Sure. I'd love to go. I want to go. I would love to go and just see all the theater and blah, blah, blah. I wish I had gone this past year, see Natalie Palamides. I really wanted to see that show so bad. See Stamptown, see Britannic.
But just imagine those tiny little streets, but with people just flying in your face whilst you can't escape. It's not great if you're claustrophobic. Yeah.
I can only do it if I'm going there and I'm like, it's a little run, it's sold out, I'm booked for a couple guest things.
So like the posh version.
Yeah, I get that.
But you know how it is, like once you've been on the road for so long, I mean, been on the road for 3 years now, and you know your standards go up, and occasionally you have gigs where the standard it's beneath, it's below, and you deal with it. But for a month, No, a month where the club doesn't have my sashimi in the green room. I don't know if I can do it anymore.
Haley went on the road with me for one day, and I introduced her to sleeping with air conditioning, and her life has never been the same since.
I don't know who the fuck you think you are, Emily.
What did you think? What was it like? Was it like, oh my God?
It was cold.
Okay, wait.
But then,
hold on. Wait. We're getting in. Haley's like getting into bed. I'm like, I'm going to turn down the air. And she was like, tell me if I'm remembering this incorrectly. She's like, you're fucking crazy. This is so stupid. This is so stupid. And then we're in bed and she's like, I'm going to set my alarm for like an hour before you. And I was like, great. I wake up. She is dead asleep, has not woken up. You got up. I woke you up. You were like a different shade. And you were like, oh my God. That's the greatest sleep I've ever had in my life. And then you said you went off of it for like,
wow.
For 2 weeks you ran off that energy. Is that incorrect?
We don't tend to have air conditioning here, Emily. So the fact that you even had a hotel with air conditioning was insane.
I mean, it's going to be, I agree. I've done Europe before, and it is brutal. It is brutal for the American sensibility. And I think it's bad. I don't think it's good that we're used to it. I think there's an argument that like, I think that having AC really prevents us from having to confront the realities of climate change in a way that we've been able to not deal with it. No. And they talk about how they design certain buildings in New York with like glass, everything's glass, and it makes it worse. Like it's not good. It's not good.
You should do, Gianmarco. At Disneyland, they have fake snow during the winter in California, like the bubbles. You should be like, we're not confronting climate change if we're producing fake snow.
I agree. You'll see what'll happen with the world. The rich get richer. There'll be no more snow.
The cold get colder.
The cold get colder. They'll build a fake ski slope where they make fake snow, and only the rich people get to experience snow. And it's not looking good.
We'll all be dead. So yeah, right. By that point,
you're right. There is a silver lining.
Anyway,
wow. That went to a darker place than I thought it was going to. But here we are.
I'm expecting this exact level of darkness. I wanted to ask, because you do a ton of crowd work, and that is like improv to an extreme, because you're also not speaking to people that also know how to do improv or anything, or are going to be cordial. And I'm wondering, like, how did you either stumble into it, decide you were going to do it, and then is it something that, like, you're talking about, when you were a kid and wanting to be on stage, is it something that you did as a kid, like looking back in hindsight?
I think I leaned into crowd work partially because you're incentivized with social media to produce a lot of content. And what happened is with COVID, that's where I really started kind of my social media push of posting jokes. And I hit a point where I was like running out of jokes. I had a big backlog, but eventually hit a wall. And then B, I had enough shows where even if it was just one or two audience members, but if they knew the punchlines to some of the jokes, I hate it. I feel so much shame and I feel terrible. And sometimes they like it, but like if I see them whispering to their friend the punchline or they're mouthing it along with me, whoo! And it was really that was my fracture point of like, I need to keep pumping out content. I don't want to keep putting out all these jokes I'm doing on stage. I leaned into crowd work. Now, I never thought I'd be good at crowd work. And I listen, if you were to put a gun to my head, I'd tell you, like, I think I'm fine at crowd work.
Your crowds are insane, though. The people.
To a degrey. Sure, they have lots of stories. They're theater kids. They want to share. I have a lot of people who are willing to share. I still feel anxious breaking into crowd work. There's still so many crowd work bits that go nowhere. And in my head, I'm like, everyone knows I just failed this conversation. But I like it because I get bored. I just don't like doing the same thing over and over and over again. And that's another realization why theater was just not for me. because I like the chaos of it. I like, maybe it's ADD, maybe it's just, that's what I like to do. So I had to learn how to get better at crowd work. And then there's moments that I'll ask a follow-up question that doesn't lead anywhere. And I go, man, I'm the fucking worst crowd work comedian in the world. I know some comedians who they'll go do a full crowd work hour. I would never do a full crowd work hour. I go, if it works, I keep going. If it doesn't, I'm like, I'll go back to material immediately. So I like it. It keeps me on my toes. It can be burdensome that, like, if I'm just trying to work on material and I go a whole weekend and I'm like, I didn't get any crowd work clips this weekend. I go, am I going to run out? Is the social media thing going to collapse? And that burden is annoying, but it's fun. It's fun. It's fun for the most part.
Weirdest one that sticks out in your head that you've had?
Let's see. What are there's like heckler stuff, but I feel like that's not necessarily unique. There's always been hecklers, and the comedian has always done their best to kind of make fun of them as they're being escorted out of the venue, if it gets to that point. I think my favorite crowd ones are when it goes way longer than you ever thought it could be. Like, and these are ones that you captioned. There was one about the guy talking about he discovered his dad wasn't his real dad.
Yeah.
And as they're telling the narrative, as a comedian, I'm always like, when is it going to run out of laughs? When am I not going to think of a good next question, or I'll ask a question and it will just kind of kill the momentum? And it's just like that kind of video. You just keep going and going and going, and it's so delightful to be like, wow, we went through the whole story and kept the momentum, and there was discoveries, and you find out, oh my God, one of your siblings doesn't know it's not your dad, and you find out you and your cousin are actually brothers. Who knows? But that's any of those moments where someone finds, their mom left their family for a polygamist cult, and it just keeps going and going. That's the thrill. I imagine, again, to use a metaphor of something I've never done, but when surfers talk about like being in the half pipe, and it's just like that glide state, or like, I'm working on a handstand for forever, and sometimes you click into a handstand and you're upside down. You're like, oh my God, I feel like I could just hold this forever. And you can't, but for 30 seconds, maybe you feel this like, oh my God, it's all here and I'm upside down and I'm flying. And that's what it can feel like with a longer crowd work story. You're like, wow, it's just, we're grooving. So that's what I like. That's the best feeling.
Yeah. Did you do musical theater at college?
I went to college for musical theater. That's all I did in college. I did not read a book. I just looked at scores and songs, and started taking voice lessons again very recently. And we'll see where it goes.
Cool.
But I was a big musical theater boy.
Sweet. No, go on.
No, you please.
No, I was just gonna say, because it's that feeling of holding a song right through to the end and holding the audience. Is that similar to holding them?
Yeah, or like especially holding like where you just get in the pocket of a high note and you're like, oh my God, I'm right there. And that's why I stopped, because I was not hitting that note often enough to keep me hooked and worth all the anxiety.
No, I get it. I'm gonna go on to my question via theatre. So I was reading about your play, Less Than 50%. How did that go? Why aren't you doing more playwriting? Come on.
Well, listen, that play is why I became a stand-up comedian, because people like, most of the positive feedback was about like my reviewed. Talking to the audience. And then I'd say, well, what did you think of the scenes? And they were like, the part where you talked to the audience was so good. And I was like, oh, okay. No, I think honestly, it was when I was doing my own play. It started at the Fringe, then it went to this thing called Fringe Encores, which was bullshit. And then we did a month we did a month of 8 shows a week, and would be a big step. And I just found myself so filled with dread at having to do this 90-minute exact show, and I hated and the parts that didn't work never worked, and I couldn't change them because we had tech, and so like the first half was really strong, and the second half it got extremely meta, and I think there were some cool things in there, but it didn't like fully click. It was a little confusing. What I wanted to do was crazy, but I just got bored. I got bored. So if I ever did a play, honestly, I'd write it for someone else to do. I get bored doing the same thing. And I was proud of that play. The moment that we tried to achieve, which might be too fantastical to achieve in theater, was at the end. The idea is you think the woman I'm acting with is my ex-girlfriend who I'm doing a play with because we're both actors. And at the end, it's revealed it's not actually her, but she's in the audience. And we had an actor who we hired, poor actor, had to sit in the audience every show. And I would, basically, my revelation from the play was, I do want to marry you. And I would propose to them in the audience, and they would leave. And maybe 2 or 3 times do I feel like we really tricked the audience into thinking they were at a special, rare, weird theatrical event, and they were witnessing a man being rejected in his proposal. And my favorite was my little brother, who's much younger than me, and I don't think ever met my ex, believed it. And he got out his phone to start filming me propose to this actor, thinking it was my ex. And listen, if it worked every time, it would have been so cool. It was cool in theory, but that's the kind of theater, I think, that revealed what I didn't like about theater. I wanted something that felt fucking special and unique and in the moment. And you can't do that if you're doing Sunset Boulevard 8 shows every week. It is a package. It is different. And I wanted to not have bows. I like hate bows because I feel like it, not in all cases. If it's a fun show, go ahead and bow. But like the idea of like you just saw Death of a Salesman and Willie Loman killed himself at the end, and then he comes out and he's like, thanks guys. I hated that.
It's awful.
And I told my director, like an annoying 24, me, and not my director. My director was great, but me, an annoying 24-year-old, 25-year-old, I want to make art. I was like, I don't want any bows. I want to walk off stage and the lights come up and the audience feels bad. And my directors and my producers said, please, that cannot be the goal of the theater piece, to make the audience feel bad. And I said, that's what good art should do. They should all feel bad. And they're like, okay, but then no one's gonna come. And then I was like, oh shit, that is tough. That's a tough problem. But that's what I wanted. That's what I wanted. And again, even talking it now, I'm like, yeah, this was doing that is what made me realize, oh, I don't actually want to do this thing that I thought I did. Not exactly.
I still think you should write a musical, though.
Sure. I think when people just try to write lyrics like out of the blue at a later place in life, they get appropriately very roasted for it. I'm not particularly poetic. If I wrote a musical, if I wrote lyrics, it would be very like Bill Finn, my favorite composer, where like it's very talky. It would have to be very talky, because if you don't deal in poetry and you try, you will write some of the cringiest shit ever known to man, and you won't even understand why it's cringy. You'll just be like, I don't understand. This is what poetry is, and people will be like, no, this is the worst thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, don't do that. So I was at work this week and I was sorting out I was choreographing a simulated sex scene between one quite high profile male British actor and a scene partner. And there was this smell in the room. There was this smell. And it started to become quite like, it's just like, where is it coming from? I felt like it was following me. It was in here. It was there. We were all commenting on the smell. Where's that coming from? And then I left the room and I could still smell it. And it turns out, so obviously I've embarrassed myself with these wonderful people because basically I got 2 puppies a few weeks ago, and I'd left my hoodie on top of the on top of my sofa, and one of the puppies had obviously taken a little shit in the hood of the hoodie. Wow. So in the hood area, and then it had been concealed and had gone hard in the hood. Not this hoodie, but I'm just showing you.
Sure. I was like, oh God, it was a white hoodie too? Jesus Christ.
I think it was concealed. So this odor that was following me around was actually puppy shit. And then we got onto set, and I thought, I either pretend that this hasn't happened or I just make it a thing. So I just explained the story and it was all cool. But I was thinking to myself, like, why the fuck do I do this to myself? Like, what is my life? Why do I do this? Like, have you had an instance where you've been at work and you've nothing to do with poo? Nothing to do with any, like, carrying poo around. But have you had an instance where you're at work and doing your job and you're going, what the hell am I doing? Why am I here with puppy shit in my hoodie?
I definitely feel like I realized when I was acting increasingly just how pathetic the life of trying to get work as an actor was. And I was never like, I was never succeeding greatly in acting. You know, I did a little TV here and there, a little bit of commercials, but definitely like at 26, I was like, oh no, I don't see what the future, where it holds. And you'd have your manager. My manager said all the time, when you're in your 30s, you're going to work like gangbusters. And you were like, that's a crazy gamble. And I remember I had an audition for Orange is the New Black, and the part was small, but it was fun. It was the lead singer of an all-white roots cover band. So it was like, it was perfect for like an awkward humor. And I got my hat. I bought a little bit of a wardrobe. I went to the audition. I knew these casting directors before, and I felt like I did well with it. And as I was leaving, my manager at the time called and said, hey, sorry, the audition was canceled. And I was like, oh, that's so, no, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. I just did it. And they said, they must have just figured out, I guess they found an actual all white roots cover band. And so they're just going to book that guy. And it was as I was leaving the building for this audition, and I thought, like, man, you're telling me that they had an offer out. They wasted my time it wasn't a lot to memorize, but to memorize, to practice. I bought a hat for it. So I'm operating at a loss. I've spent the day. I was excited. I saw them, and literally I couldn't even have gotten it if I wanted to. And yeah, they might have liked me, and then they'll call me back for another role at a different time, maybe, but not necessarily. And I think that's where I really felt like this is a waste of my life. Whether or not I had enough talent or didn't have enough talent, or if I was better looking, or different looking, I could work more. I don't know. But the reality is like where I'm at in life, with my resume, with my degree, this is a waste of my existence, and it's a gamble, and I'm not willing to wait till I'm 30. And thank God, because I did not get a lot of roles when I was in my 30s all of a sudden. And I wanted that traditional path. It wasn't being granted to me. And I wish I had been, trying to make my own shit just from an earlier age. I trusted the system, and the system failed me. And you can always look at things, and like I feel like I certainly was at an era where people were talking about diversity and casting a lot more. And there were certainly many other white actors, I would say, who basically felt like, what the fuck? I'm not getting work. And they would get mad. They would get mad at like this thing, as opposed to, I think, the realistic way of looking at it, of going like, hey, we work in a marketplace. And if, for example, they want to make commercials more diverse than they used to, put aside feelings of, is this the right thing to do? Blah, blah, blah. You go, I'm getting less auditions. Do something else. Figure out a different thing. Make your own commercials. Become a stand-up comedian. Figure something else out. It's not being handed to you. Mm-hmm. And I want to put it aside from like, I think it's totally fair to go, hey, yeah, you know what? It was handed to you in the past in a way that was not fair. And now you're getting a taste of what it was like for other people but again, put that aside. Look at yourself as an individual and go, what kind of life do I want? Oh, I'm not getting auditions for commercials or theater. Could it be that I should be better? Could it be blah, blah, blah? Who cares? It's not working out this path. And I know so many people that just said it's not working out. Maybe it was that. Maybe they just weren't hot enough. Or maybe people weren't into people with big noses that year. Or maybe they were too tall. Or maybe they were too short. But the bottom line is, what are you just going to be mad that this select group of casting directors in this select market in this particular period in time doesn't want you? Is that the life you want to live? I wanted to create. So I shifted. I would always say to those people, because they're still out there complaining, they go, oh, no one wants to cast me because I'm a white guy. I go, well, let me tell you, you want to know where white guys are still thriving? The road of stand-up comedy. I'll show you 100 clubs where you go, damn, that is a problem. It is too many of this one thing. And I go, and I want to separate it from like any kind of value systems and more like, what kind of life do you want? Where do people want to see you? And again, I think I'm succeeding on the road because I'm a straight white guy, but I do think like, hey, this is where work opportunities were, and I built this thing out. And for whatever reason, whether it be my talent, being a man, being a white guy, being a straight guy, being theatrical, it's like this space, I can build a life. And that's what I'm going to do. I picked a life where I got autonomy, where I could control my destiny. And ultimately, I feel fortunate, a life that I love. The thing that I do, when I think about what I got to do last night, it was a pain in the ass. I don't know where the fuck I was in Ohio. I do get tired of flying. But the moment I walked on stage, I said, oh yeah, I did an hour, 40-minute set because I love it.
So,
and yeah.
So would that leads into literally what my next question was, which what is your definition of making it?
I think the hard truth is I am making it in terms of amount of time I get to spend doing what I love creatively. And I think it can be hard to wrestle with because there's a lot of aspects that are exhausting. And Emily is more familiar than most people in this world of like the things that I'm trying to. There's always ways I could have it be better. Before I worked with Emily, before I worked with a lot of people, I was captioning my own jokes on my TikTok, on the TikTok app, and it was excruciating. And it was during COVID, and I had the time. But I think like everything about my life now, it's more like, oh, this could be easier, or this I could have more time, or maybe I do want to be more separate from social media, mixed with the fact that I think you have to be engaged to be good at it. So I can prioritize just being on stage. There's so much of being a stand-up comic today, especially almost every working stand-up comedian today is also a business person. And unfortunately, we lose a lot of, I think, great artists who are not business people. And I think you can criticize the nature of capitalism and social media with what it does. You lose great artists because they don't want to engage in social media. But that's always been the case. You never, there's always great people you lose because they can't survive in the atmosphere. And right now you have to be so business minded to make art and survive as an artist in this world. And part of my dream of making it, to get back to the original question, is to be able to concern myself a little bit less with those necessities of survival, so I can focus more on the art form itself.
Making it and like having bits of your life that aren't particularly how you want them isn't the same thing, is it? It's like it exists in different realms.
And per your point of bringing your kid to set, it's like you are on set, you're doing the thing, and the truth is it's not this magical world all the time. It's just, is there enough magic to make you want to keep going back? And for me, there's enough magic when I'm on stage that I go, okay, fine, I'll fucking go to Bloomington.
I'm sure Bloomington's wonderful.
Yeah, hey. We'll see. We'll see.
So if this podcast was going to be a book, what would your chapter title be called to sum up your journey so far, your career journey? What would it be?
Keeping in mind, most of them are bleak and sarcastic, so don't feel like you have to be inspirational at all. I don't think we've had an inspirational one. Maybe Donnie's, but he's his own breed.
God, it's some version of, it would have the word failing in it, because I feel like, and you know, someone could talk to me and go like, oh, well, you're framing it the wrong way. But I feel like I failed at musical theater. I failed at acting. I was not good enough. So it's, I'm sorry to formulate it with it, but it's something about failing. It's something about understanding what it is you're good at. So failing into, that's what I want. I want failing into, it's not greatness. It's not failing into success. Brillstein, who's a manager that my girlfriend like admires, you know, he had a book called Where Did I Go Right? I think that's the title of it or something, but it is like, it's like he doesn't even know how he got to where he got. So fuck, I want to go, maybe I just want to go failing into being okay.
That's great.
Like that.
That's right on par.
Perfect.
With everyone we've had. That's great.
Love that one.
And then I put an asterisk and go, for now.
We've had for now. We've had ... at least for now. We've had hashtag 2024, so that like if it's 2025 and this is not still the case, like don't quote me. Yeah. That's a good one.
Yeah,
well,
really good. Really good.
Perfect.
That's fine.
Well, thank you for having me.
It's a full circle moment or something. I don't know. It's just a moment. It's a confusing one.
It's just a moment. It's a confusing one, yes.
All right. Thank you, Gianmarco.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Take care.